know the drill. And hey, we are on satellite radio. But before we go radio, technically, we've got about 6 minutes and 20 seconds left. But you guys, if you have questions for us, feel free to type those on the stream. The stream is active, and we are streaming to approximately 1.5 million people right now. And yeah, most of those are on Facebook. So it's all good. And it's going to be the Chief Schultz, the Lieutenant Wenninger, and Chip show. So all right, I can't wait. It's going to be a good day. So, and just so you guys know, the third video that was on it was on Police One. I was not able to get enough stuff on that, and I had limited stuff on the first update article. It was a Fox News source that I was trying to use, but when I went to grab it, the Ohio guy that ran over the deputy, he was actually a recently retired deputy after his son was murdered the day before, and he was at court and stuff. I got limited stuff on that, but I remember enough from reading the story yesterday. So
yeah, that was
so
down
guys,
here in Cincinnati.
Yeah. And then there was another case
Grenade.
I just read about in Indiana, where a grandpa was opened fire on some deputies and inmates because his grandsons had been killed in a pursuit. And so I don't know.
Really? Yeah, grenades being thrown out of we had pipe bombs maybe a month ago, but an active grenade, and they're usually duds, like that have been sanitized. But yeah, that's just kind of crazy stuff. And that was in California of all places. I mean, don't they have laws in California against that stuff? I'm just amazed that somebody, they have all these weapons laws and high capacity magazine laws. You can't have anything over 10 rounds, or you can't have a magazine that has a capacity of more than 10 rounds. And you got some dude with a live grenade in California being chased by the police, and he throws it out the window. Really? California? Wow.
So
should
I quit shaving, guys?
Well, I'll tell you the story with if this is directed at me, let me just defend myself.
No, I was the male model over here, Jeff. He's got a little
he does
Miami Vice stubble there.
See, I've never been able to grow facial hair, and so finally, I have been able to grow somewhat. I mean, it's not great, but it's but I have. So for like the last couple of years, I've just kind of let it go like this because I've just enjoyed it, because all my life I've never been able to have enough facial hair to show. And I'd shave like once a week. There's no bother because it looked like I was shaving every day, because I just had no growth, so it's just kind of funny. Later in my life, I've got the ability to actually have something that people can actually see. So that's my excuse.
My excuse is I was just lazy.
Looks good. Looks good.
I was tired shaving my head, so I shaved my head and I said, I'm tired. I'm done. I hopped in the shower.
When I had tongue cancer and I had to do chemo radiation, so I had to do 35 radiation treatments, and everything on my neck, everything from my neck down, it still doesn't grow. It just like kills all that stuff, which is a benefit, I guess. But most of the radiation was on my right side, so I only had half of a mustache growing in on this side, and on my right side I had nothing growing. And it's just weird how things. Then over time, of course, at least this stuff came back. Nothing came back down here, but it's just weird. It's just weird. But you got to find the silver lining in everything you go through. So I've gotten pretty good at that now. So.
I don't know. We have No Shave November up here. It's like a fundraiser thing. You let your beard grow, and by the end of the month, I look like no shave since Tuesday because I can't generate any manly facial hair at all.
Oh, dude, that's me. That is me.
Hey, I'll go for 2 weeks and it looks like I'm 13.
There's hope, Chief. As you get older, in my experience, it will come in better. So there is hope.
I don't know if I'm going to get any older. We'll see.
Well, we got 2 minutes before we go to the radio portion of the show. So if there's anything you guys want to take out of order, let me know. I tell you what, I was kind of leaning towards doing the three main stories, boom, 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 all in a row, if that's okay. The first one there's a lot of bit of information on the first one. The second two should be relatively fast. And the last one being the Ivanka Trump thing down in Miami. But if that's okay with you, I was going to nail those out and then hit the first video story, video one. I don't consider the Ivanka thing really a video story, but that's just a side benefit to having a good video of that strike.
Right. So speaking of facial hair, I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on how police officers are wearing facial hair now.
I don't like it.
Most of them look terrible.
I don't like it.
Awful.
You
I don't
know,
like it at all.
remember that we did the show on uniform, and well, the Chief Schultz wrote the article. You know, command presence is so important, and it ruins it for me. I just think they look so much more sharp and professional. I've never liked it, and I mean, look, I'm not talking about UC and doing stuff like that, undercover, but yeah, in uniform, I just don't like it. Yeah, goatees, long sideburns, beards, facial hair, beard growth. I don't think it has a place when you're wearing a uniform if you want that nice professional, look. I just don't like it.
I agree. That's my thoughts exactly. I don't understand it. I really don't. It really got exacerbated with COVID. It kind of everything really laxed, and nothing. It hasn't kind of pendulum has not swung back. And I don't know. I think it's unfortunate because it's like you said. I think there's something about, my father used to always tell me, when you're going to school to take a test, make sure you dress sharp because you're going to perform as well as you feel. And it's kind of the same thing. You need to look sharp, not only physically, but in your how you manicure yourself. So
that explains a lot. I never got dressed up for tests. So hey, here we go. Ready? Time for radio. All right, guys, and welcome to Leo Roundtable at leoroundtable.com. My name is Chip the Block, and I'm your host, and we're a group of law enforcement professionals that talk about today's news and issues, but we do it from a law enforcement perspective. And let me introduce the crew. Guys, if you don't mind waving for the video portion of our show, he's back, Chief Joel Schultz. He needs no introduction. He's one of the most, actually one of the most famous cops, especially police chiefs in the country. So thank you so much for being on the show, Chief Schultz. Appreciate it. Did I surprise you with that introduction? It looks like I kind of took you back with that. Did I?
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's just like getting people references. I said, if you lie for me, I'll lie for you.
We know better. You're not sucking me into that hole. And we also have Lieutenant Jeff Wenninger, who I actually saw on a news thing last night. Jeff Wenninger, he is the former LAPD commander. He was actually in charge of Rampart, and also retired just over a year ago. He also wrote the new book called On Thin Ice. And if you're watching the video portion of the show, it's sitting over his shoulder there. He's also has law enforcement consultants at lawenforcementconsultants.com. Jeff's got a lot of stuff going on, but that TV appearance, I got a clip of that yesterday, Jeff. I watched your appearance representing and talking about Compliant Technologies and their product called the glove. It was pretty good stuff. And it looked like the whole crew, you had them all mesmerized. So,
well, really, it was all Jeff Nicholas. He's the founder and CEO of Compliant Technologies, and he's from Lexington, Kentucky, and we were on ABC 36, which is in Lexington. And actually, if the viewers want to see it, they can go to the WTVQ.com website and go to the noon show, and it's probably still posted.
Love it. I love it. Yeah, that was pretty impressive. It's all good. It's all good stuff. A shout out to our sponsors. Our title sponsor is Gulls at Gulls.com, CompliantTechnologies.com, our satellite sponsor. We have Gunlearn.com, MyMedicare.live, SafeguardRecruiting.com, our streaming sponsor. And thanks to them, we're streaming to over 1 million followers right now on social media during the live show. And finally, TwoBells.com. They built a new online store at LeoRoundtable.com. Go to our website, check out the online store. You can buy cool gear like the shirt that I'm wearing, and the prices are rock bottom. I spend what you guys spend. We don't make a dime off of anything in the store. We're just trying to get our gear out there. So please check that out. Also, a shout out to Brian Burns for the Tampa Free Press at TampaFP.com. Thanks for carrying our content, Brian. Ray Diedrich, former lawman.com, and Travis Sheets with lawofficer.com. Thanks to all those entities for helping make this show happen. And now, what in the world are we talking about today? We do talk about the news from a law enforcement perspective. We make no apologies for that, but we want to make you guys among the smartest people in the room when it comes to the news and also hearing it from that Leo, law enforcement officer perspective. So important. And let's go ahead and whet the appetite here. We're going to be talking about 3 main stories. Main stories, we usually start off with those if there's something good in the news. They have a tendency to be a little bit deeper. We got 3 of them that we're going to be covering. The first one, it's pretty exciting news. CBP, so that's Customs and Border Protection, whistleblowers finally cleared. So these Border Patrol whistleblowers, they're cleared. Trump reverses the Biden administration's retaliation against them. When you guys hear what in the world has been going on? The retaliatory stuff going against these whistleblowers, it'll make your stomachs it'll make you sick. We have another one, Kash Patel vindicated. MSNBC, they got they got some stuff on their nose on this one. MSNBC forced to retract false claim about FBI director. Wow. And then, of course, we've got a man messes around with Ivanka Trump's security detail, finds out with quickness what a mistake that was. It's a pretty good strike. We've also got Broken Arrow officers are justified in the fatal shooting of a guy named Samuel Flanagan, who was armed with a machete. And we've also got another one here. NYPD officers shoot a guy in Brooklyn after 4 children were attacked with a meat cleaver. I'll tell you, these first 2 stories with a video component, they are, I don't know if we're going to get past them. It's really detailed. And if we have time to get to it, we got an Ohio man accused of murdering a deputy the day after someone was fatally shot by police, and he tried to, he mowed this cop down. We got another body cam footage released after Madison County deputy shoots an armed man. We got Rain police officer killed by friendly fire during the execution of a search warrant. And then California driver throws a live grenade out of the window during a car chase in California. I mean, of all places, yeah. So anyhow, that's kind of what we got going on. So we've got a little over 6 minutes before we take our first commercial break. So guys, let's just go ahead and dive into the first of these 3 main stories that we have. The Department of Homeland Security, and actually this is on all 3 of these main stories are at rvmnews.com. It's really a great source for news and commentary, and it stands for Red Voice Media News. So rvmnews.com, CBP whistleblowers finally cleared. Trump reverses Biden administration's retaliation. So the Department of Homeland Security, they announced on Monday that they have reinstated and promoted 3 whistleblowers from Customs and Border Protection because these guys ended up being demoted and they had their pay cut under the Biden administration after they raised concerns about their agency's failure to comply with the federal DNA collection laws. Now, think about that for a second. Why would it be important? Guys coming over across the border to collect their DNA, right? We got the names of these 3 guys: Fred Wynn, Mike Taylor, and Mark Jones. Good for those guys. All officials in CBP's Weapons of Mass Destruction Division. They were previously sidelined after they disclosed that their agency had not been collecting the required DNA samples from illegal immigrants that were apprehended at the southern border. And they had alleged back in June of 2024, so really not that long ago, in a court filing that the agency leadership retaliated against them for reporting the violations of the DNA Fingerprint Act of 2005. So it's a act that you have to comply with, supposedly. Now, these 3 guys, they've now been promoted to new supervisory roles, and the DHS has confirmed their prior pay cuts and demotions have been reversed. In addition, Customs and Border Protection, they've reauthorized law enforcement credentials for these guys. These guys were in a world of hurt. They really had some stuff. They didn't have they had their badges taken away from them. They've been given back. Firearms were taken away from them. From Taylor and Jones, they've got those back. Now, the announcement follows a years-long campaign by Senator Chuck Grassley, and he has been advocating for these guys and for their reinstatement. And he said, "Today's a victory for Fred Wynn, Mike Taylor, Mark Jones, and the rule of law. At long last, these patriotic men will be made whole again. I'm very grateful to the leadership at the Department of Homeland Security and Customs and Border Protection who worked with me to bring these whistleblowers back to their rightful roles." Even Secretary Kristi Noem of Homeland Security acknowledged the restoration of these guys' rights. And then Rodney Scott, he's President Trump's nominee to lead Customs and Border Patrol. He affirmed, due to a recent confirmation hearing, that he was aware of the whistleblowers and their reputations. And listen to what he said. He said, I do know those 3. I know one allegation that's never been levied against them is the challenge of their integrity. I will look into this and I will hold people accountable if they violated policy. So he's talking about the people that screwed these guys because they became whistleblowers. I can't wait to see what happens with this investigation. The Office of Special Counsel concluded in 2021, so that's been a little while ago, that DHS retaliated against these 3 guys for their disclosures. And despite their finding, the Biden admin continued to restrict their roles, denied them meaningful assignments, and in the case of Taylor, stripped him of his law enforcement retirement benefits. Now, it kind of goes on. It explains the DNA Fingerprint Act, and it talks about the importance of that, and that even though they've got, like, here's an example, in Q1 of 2023, there were 865,000 plus encounters, but only 347,000 plus DNA samples submitted. So that's kind of an example on how slim the collections were. And of course, Taylor testified that the team's efforts were obstructed by DHS officials who slow-rolled the implementation, of the law. So, and Any surprises, guys? I'm curious about your commentary on this. We got a little under 3 minutes before first commercial break, but I hate to hear things like this, but I love to hear success stories where these guys are put in supervisory roles at the same agency that tried to put them down. So if no commentary, we can move on to the next one, guys. But Chief Schultz.
I'm thinking, there's 83 badge carrying, gun toting federal agencies in law enforcement. I can't imagine trying to function in those, top 5 or 6 highly visible ones that we all know the alphabets for under the Biden administration. I mean, you don't have to be completely partisan to realize what a wreck that those 4 years imprinted on the integrity of federal agencies, and it's going to take a while to get all that back, and this is a good step forward.
Beautiful, love it. Lieutenant Jeff.
Yeah, when I was early in my career with the LAPD, we had the opportunity to pay for an enhanced legal coverage through the police union. And I thought, I'm not going to pay that extra money. I'm never going to do anything that's going to, result in me getting into any type of trouble. I know what my character is and what, and it wasn't long before I started to see that has nothing to do with it. When you're talking about large organizations that are impacted by the political climate, they oftentimes will make decisions relative to personnel in regards to what is politically expedient. And then that results in people being sacrificed. So, it wasn't long before, I realized that that's probably some of the best spent money you'll ever pay out of your pocket to make sure that you have that extra legal coverage to take care of yourself in the event that you get caught up in something like this. For in this case, it appears to be for doing the right thing. So, that's just a reality of the political climate.
We've got Bill Van Ron weighing in on YouTube saying the DNA collections were important to identify children to make sure that they were not being trafficked. And that's one good example, Bill Van Ron. So thanks for paying attention. We appreciate it. Jeff, with what you were saying, yeah, it's true. You shouldn't have to worry about stuff like that. I'd love to tell you that. I went through a career without having to go to internal affairs or even being criminally investigated by my own agency or having to become a whistleblower and having a search warrant written for my, execution at my house and things like that. But that's all stuff that happens, even if you do nothing wrong. So, guys, it's time for our first commercial break. Stick with us. We'll be right back. All right, guys, it's time to talk about our title sponsor, Galls at Galls.com. And as police officers, one thing we do really good, we love to buy gear. We love it. And when you throw the online option, it's like our choices are limitless. So here's what's really important here. I want to remind everybody, it's supporting the companies that actually support law enforcement. And I don't know of a company that does that better than Galls at Galls.com. I mean, even their motto is proud to serve those who serve, which of course they do in spectacular fashion. And not only that, they walk the talk by supporting dozens, and I mean dozens of focused organizations like this radio show. So when you're looking for gear, please support our title sponsor by going to Galls at Galls.com. And they're going to do you one better. For the loyal listeners of the show, they've got a radio code. It's radio15. It's a discount code. It'll get you 15% off of most purchases at Galls.com. Go to Galls.com today and use that radio15 code to get 15% off your next purchase. And hey, they've got gift cards. Hook up your family, friends, and loved ones for the new Galls gift card, and they will be your new best friends. You can do all that. They pretty much have everything but guns and ammo at Galls.com. Again, that is Galls.com. All right, and we've got about 2 minutes before we come back to the radio portion of the show. I don't know if you picked up on that, Chief, but that was just timed perfectly. If you're watching the clock, that was like 100%. A game stuff.
That's right. A plus radio stuff.
I just want to make sure I want to make sure that nothing is slipping by you guys today. So, and yeah, I have to attribute some of that to the AI energy drink I'm drinking today, the grape flavor, but it's all good. So, yeah, we got roughly a minute and a half before we come back to the radio portion of the show. So, it's all good. Oh, I'm feeling pretty good today. I get to meet with the orthopedic surgeon next week and get the verdict of the surgery. So that's all good too.
Is that your first post-op?
It is. I saw the doctor Monday last week, and I saw him a couple times, had my MRI and everything, and then I had surgery Thursday. I didn't even see him before, but I saw the the anesthesiologist, but I didn't even really, I haven't seen the doctor since that Monday. So, I mean, I was unconscious when he was working on me, but you know what I'm saying? So, and myself and the anesthesiologist got up close and personal because he had to give me a what do you call it? A block. So it was
A nerve block.
A nerve block. Thank you. A nerve block. But the surgery was on my knee, but they gave me the nerve block in my groin. And so I was a little concerned about that. And he said, don't worry. He goes, I'll give you the happy juice and you just won't care. And you know what? He was absolutely freaking right. I absolutely didn't care. But the nerve block, it's 2 shots in the groin, but it's above and below the nerve. And he explained it to me. And yeah, I didn't care. So yeah, I get to find all that the good news out on next Wednesday anyhow. So we're 8 seconds out, guys. I'm starting the music. Back to radio. Here we go. All right, guys, welcome back to Leo Roundtable at leoroundtable.com. You know, we've been talking about law enforcement, obviously, but the place where we're at today in law enforcement as well. Guys, any further talk about the last topic? You guys ready to move on to the next main topic? You ready? All right.
You know, I'll say this as administrator, I made this statement publicly and in publication. As a chief, if you're not willing to get fired for taking an ethical stand, either on your own behalf or that of your officers, then you're in the wrong business.
I love what you just said. That is great. You know, the troops always look about you back, you know, having their backs. That makes such a difference. You know, if they're just going to throw you to the wolves, you know, and look, not many people understand as well as I do the political climate and how that can affect whether you're in the good graces of your agency or not. I mean, you are susceptible to whatever way those winds are blowing, but there are chiefs and sheriffs with backbones that really limit that. They'll have your back. Sometimes these guys will even put their job on the line for you. And that is refreshing. And I have to say that in my career, I had people that did that for me, even when I was going through a world of hurt. I mean, I'm talking to majors and people I'm friends with, and the chief is walking down coming within a line of sight. I've had people just turn around and walk away from me in mid sentence. I mean, I'm like, what's wrong? And then I look and I see someone they didn't want to be seen with me, you know? So, and then of course, when it comes to people battling for you and your job, and if you did something right, did nothing wrong, but you've got political people that are upset with what you're doing. Yeah, it gets awful. It gets ugly. It gets really messy. It's not a right or wrong thing, Jeff, as you know. It's just it's just sad that we have to weather that storm.
Well, the one thing that needs to change, and I think the pendulum needs to swing back the other direction, is the selection of the chief of police in many municipalities. It's a political process now, where like with the LAPD, the last chief that had protections was Daryl Gates, but after Daryl Gates, they did a city charter mandate change where the chief is selected. The interviews are conducted by the 5 members of the Honorable Board of Police Commissioners. Then they submit their top 3 in order to the mayor, and the mayor can pick any one of those 3. If the mayor doesn't want any of those 3, then they can request additional, but then that person that they would pick that's not in that 3 have to then therefore be approved by the city council. But it's this huge political process now. So, you know, when you're chosen by the mayor, I mean, you're bought and paid for, especially where now you have term limits where you can do 2 5-year terms, but you have to be approved for the second term. So that first 5 years, you don't want to do anything that's going to put you in conflict with the people that chose you, to make sure that you get your additional 5 years. Why? Because they've tied that all towards the chief's retirement. You want to get into that second 5 years to maximize your retirement. So the whole process is so political, and that's what's unfortunate. A chief should be able to make a decision and not have any worry of being fired, actually, and that's just the way it should be.
Well, I don't necessarily need to stay on the chief track. I've been fired twice. That's one of the reasons I'm kind of passionate about this idea. But, you know, I've noticed in the last 5 or 10 years, we've made great progress in getting women and minorities into administrative positions and chief positions, but they are just as vulnerable to the winds of politics. And we've lost some really good, I think, top executives who were trying to be straight arrows. And, you know, you could accuse them of being DEI hires, but they were quality folks in some major departments, and just couldn't survive the politics. It's a sad state of affairs. I agree with Jeff.
Well, guys, law enforcement deals with it just like everybody else in the world. So moving along, and good commentary, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Our next main story, Kash Patel vindicated. This is at rvmnews.com as well. MSNBC forced to retract false claim about the FBI director. When you hear who made the false claim, it makes a little bit more sense. But MSNBC's Morning Joe show issued a retraction on Monday after airing an unverified and ultimately false claim by former FBI official Frank Figliuzzi. And I guess it's a Figliuzzi. How do you pronounce that name? Or do you guys, or am I just butchering that name? Or do you guys know how to pronounce it better than I do?
Is he from Tempe?
Is he from Tempe? Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good, Chief. But he gave he's a former FBI official, which kind of tarnishes this because he's criticizing a new FBI official, Director Kash Patel. So he said, well, anyhow, listen to we'll get to what he said, but the correction follows 3 days of widespread media repetition. And, you know, our guy, Figliuzzi's allegation that Patel was spending more time at nightclubs than actually managing the Bureau, the FBI. Now, the claim made during Friday's broadcast of Morning Joe alleged that Patel, the new FBI director, was more visible at nightclubs, far more than he spent on the 7th floor of the Hoover building, the FBI building. Now, he also, his background, he served as assistant director of the FBI's counterintelligence division from 2011 to 2012. So that's 1 year. And he works where? As an NBC news analyst, but he did not provide any supporting evidence for that statement that he made, slamming Patel. And that's a pretty damaging statement, especially people, like family members I know that watch liberal news. They believe everything that comes out of the word of the mouths of these people. So Figliuzzi also claimed that Patel's daily intelligence briefings have been reduced from daily to maybe twice weekly. Again, citing unnamed sources and offering no documentation to support it. So the remarks quickly circulated digitally across news platforms and social media outlets like the Daily Mail, Daily Beast, and MSN, according to this article, repeated the claims without independent verification. And by Monday morning, MSNBC was forced to walk back the segment. Host Jonathan Lemire acknowledged the network had no evidence to support the statements that had been aired. And it goes on to say at the end of that segment, Figliuzzi said that FBI Director Kash Patel had reportedly been more visible at nightclubs than at his office at the FBI headquarters, and that was a misstatement. We have not verified that claim. The segment immediately cut to the commercial after this brief statement. So that's the way that went down. So they got, they had the ECRO a little bit, but I hate to see these misstatements being allowed, but at least they're getting called out, and Kash Patel has been vindicated on this. We'll get to this in 1 second. Our second commercial break, guys. We'll be right back. All right, introducing Compliant Technologies at complianttechnologies.com, and they're committed to providing non-lethal solutions to help officers gain the upper hand safely and rapidly in a humane, low-ethics manner, utilizing their CD3, which stands for Conductive Distraction and De-escalation Technology. Their flagship product, we all know by now, is called the Glove. It's helped officers, I was going to say, tens of thousands of times, but now they're up to over 250,000 deployments with absolutely no injuries and no deaths. I mean, it's a crazy stat. And you heard me correctly, no injuries. They've actually achieved non-lethal status in an arena that predominantly can only offer less lethal results. And when it comes to weapons retention, transitioning to a sidearm or conductive energy weapon, the Glove at complianttechnologies.com, they virtually eliminated weapons confusion. So stay ahead of the game with Compliant Technologies and the revolutionary CD3 the hundreds of agencies have already turned to nationwide. And friends, take it from me, when it comes to safety, this is one of the most common sense, hands-on solutions that's ever come along. So go to complianttechnologies.com today and tell them that Chip sent you. Again, that is complianttechnologies.com. All right, guys, we've got about 4 minutes before we come back to the radio portion of the show. And wow, the show is, man, we are like cruising right along. And, on our stream here, I'm just kind of looking at who we've got. We got a lot of guys. We've got Sergeant George from Hayward, California. Now, he's been on since 6:40 p.m. yesterday evening, but it was 66 degrees in California when he logged in, waiting for us to go live. And then popping over here to Rumble, we got Andrew Happy Mother's Day to everyone. 80 degrees in Richmond, Virginia. And we got MVS in Colorado. Wow, it's in Northwest Colorado. It's 53. That's a little warm from what I'm used to hearing over there. And we got a lot of other people over here. So good deal. We got some good commentary on both networks right now. And of course on StreamYard, we can see what's going on YouTube. There's about 6 Facebook pages over there. We're on LinkedIn as well. So thanks guys for watching the show. We appreciate it. You guys having a good week so far, gentlemen?
Oh yeah. I had a good time driving down to Lexington. I took my son. He loves aviation. And, Jeff Nicholas, with his background as being a Black Hawk pilot, my son was over the moon meeting him.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's like he's meeting a celebrity or something. But yeah, Jeff was great. He's very accommodating, and they talked about my son wants to go to. My son's 13, but he wants to go to the Air Force Academy. So he's asking Jeff all about that sort of stuff.
Oh, that's good, cool. Man. Gotta have that. Hey, gotta have that drive.
Yeah, we got a Sailor Outlaw George. He asked me a question here. He asked if I know Sean Sticks Larkin, a retired Tulsa, Oklahoma police lieutenant. No, I don't. I don't believe I know him. However, anytime, George, if you want to, you can get a hold of me on Jeff Winninger on LinkedIn or on Facebook, and if you message me there, we can chat about anything you want to chat about. Maybe a little more conducive than here.
Sean Larkin Sticks. He hosts one of those law enforcement shows. It went down, and then I think it went back up. It's one of these live law enforcement shows, which I have a really hard time watching, but he kind of narrates what's going down. Sean Larkin. Yeah, I can't remember what agency he was with, but yeah.
It's just Tulsa, Oklahoma police lieutenant, retired.
Okay.
Yeah.
Travis probably knows him.
I'm sorry, Chief.
Travis probably knows him from.
Travis Yates.
Yeah, Yates.
That's right. Yeah, Travis with Tulsa. Yeah, good point. Good point. Yeah, that is one busy guy. Yeah, that's the downside with having such successful people on the show is that everybody's got a life and everybody's busy. So and Chief, I'm just thrilled that you make the time to do the show. That's just this. I'm in my happy place now. And then of course, Jeff's got a lot going on too. But I want to hear more about that. Your experience with doing the glove, Jeff, with these guys at Compliant Technologies. You're a believer, you said?
Oh yeah, we were going to do a demonstration on the show, but we had a limited time, so we didn't want to burn up too much time. We wanted to use more time to talk than to do the demonstration. Yeah. But Jeff came by the hotel. He's very generous and put my son and I up at the hotel, and came in the morning, and he put me through the basic instructor course. And part of that is getting a ride with the glove. And oh my goodness, I was a believer to begin with, but I am absolutely a believer now.
Wow.
I'm now knocking on people's doors to get them to be believers. So
good. That's what we need. It's going to save lives, buddy. Well, look, we're 5 seconds out. I'm starting the music. Back to radio. Here we go. All right, guys, welcome back to Leo Roundtable at leoroundtable.com. We left off talking about Kash Patel being vindicated after some media sources, picked up an unverified story. And this guy is sharp, and they put up with a lot. So if you guys are ready to move on to our third main topic involving Ivanka Trump, or maybe not, Lieutenant Jeff.
I just have to say one thing. It's unfortunate this day and age, the news cycle is like a 24-hour news cycle. And, Mark Twain saying is a lie travels halfway around the world while the truth is still putting on its shoes. And that's the reality. And that's unfortunately what many of these people in the news try to do is get out false information, knowing it's going to run rampant. And you really, even though there's an official retraction, there is really no retracting that initial misinformation. So, it's unfortunate. That's the type of news we have to deal with, but that's reality.
Agreed.
I agree with that, but we also have an administration full of frat boys, so it's not too hard to make those allegations.
Yeah, that's actually Chip. I mean, obviously your lookalike outfit for Cash Patel is pretty good. People are buying it. They're mistaking you for him.
Thanks a lot. I don't know how they take that, but okay. All right, guys. Moving along. I think it's a good time to move along. Here we go. And stick with us. You know, well, look, this is our last main topic, and it'll be a quick one, but rvmnews.com again. Man messes around with Ivanka Trump's Secret Service detail, finds out with quickness what a mistake that was. So just real quick, it says it says a Secret Service agent intervened. I think that we've all agreed that he's probably not a Secret Service agent, probably a private security detail working alongside Secret Service. But he intervened over the weekend, and there's an unidentified guy that attempts to approach Ivanka Trump. And I guess it's her husband, Jared Kushner, as they're exiting an event in South Beach, prompting a forceful response from security. So this was Saturday night. The couple is leaving Carbone Beach. It's a high profile venue that's in Miami. And the first daughter and her husband, they're surrounded by bystanders. They're walking towards a waiting car. There's a guy dressed in tan shorts and a black T-shirt. He's carrying a manila folder, and he's walking beside the couple, but at their pace, alongside them, and too close for the comfort of security, at least anyhow. So you've got a plainclothes security guy. He's a decent sized black guy. He was convincingly strong, and he tries to separate this guy, this unknown, from Ivanka. He was on Ivanka's side, and the guy brushes past the security guard, and then he tries to approach Ivanka again, and the guy just turns around, faces the guy, and just gives him I called it a check. From my training, we called it just a check, but he hits him both hands, stiff arms him right in the chest. And this guy goes flying backwards out of view of the camera. So I don't know how he landed, or if he was in a prone position afterwards or not. But I doubt that he was vertical. I think that he went horizontal after that hit. So this was a good severe hit. So much so that Ivanka turned back as the thud. It was a loud crack. And it says the Secret Service has not commented publicly on the matter, and they haven't confirmed, who was involved in this thing. And like I said, we already talked prior to the show about who we think it was, but. Quick commentary on this, guys. We got about 7 minutes before our next commercial break, but you don't screw around with with security details, much less guys that are the president's daughter's detail. But Chief Schultz.
Well, it was a legitimate threat. You get somebody with that kind of proximity, super threatening, and that file folder bothered me. The Unabomber's explosive devices were typically about that size, so. And then the biochemicals or whatever could be in that. So you don't know what this guy was up to. So that quick reaction and getting him maintaining some distance and putting him off balance, I think was a great move.
Sweet. And Lieutenant Jeff.
Yeah, I suspect there was a lot more to it than what we saw on video. I'm sure that the security, whether it was Secret Service, which I doubt, it's probably private security, but I suspect that they had probably interacted with this individual, at least given him motions to back off prior to what was captured on video. But, it's a pretty effective tool and tactic. He's to be commended. He's doing his job.
We don't often get a spotlight into what goes on behind the scenes, and we don't really normally think about Ivanka and Trump's children and Cash Patel's family and all these other. There's a lot of security concerns, and so this is just a little glimpse into something. They're just innocently going to a venue in Miami, and then something like this goes down. They got to be on their A game all the time. So yeah, I do appreciate the guys that are willing to do this kind of dignitary protection, or EP, executive protection, as we call it in another industry. So thank you guys so much. Jeff, you ready to move on to the story with the first video component, Broken Arrow?
You bet.
All right. It's not like the movie, but it's Broken Arrow Police. So Rumble.com, our favorite law enforcement video channel called This Is Butter. And look, we're going to be covering a couple of stories here, guys, with video components. If you're listening audibly, your favorite radio station or podcast, please stay loyal to those outlets that are bringing you this good quality content. In return for that, we'll describe in great detail what's going on so that you don't feel like you're missing out on anything. But if we cover a video that you absolutely have to see, all you have to do, look no further than our Rumble channel. Our name of our channel is called Leo Roundtable, like the show. And at 9 o'clock the very next morning, when we play this live show, it's automatically up there, but we don't include the videos in it. Too many things can go wrong in a live show when you're showing, video at the same time. But the very next morning, 9 o'clock in the morning on a Rumble channel, producer Will, he puts up a copy, version of this live show after he embeds all the videos we talk about. He'll actually even put pictures up of the good guys and the bad guys that pop up as we're talking about them. So it's really a great option for you guys if you want to watch it. So Broken Arrow officers justified in the fatal shooting of Samuel Flanagan, who was armed with a machete. We have two harrowing stories here, assuming we have time to cover them. On November the 29th, the Broken Arrow Police Department, they respond to a 911 call to a home. A family member reported they needed assistance for a mental incident, and that was the statement that was the department released in the briefing. So they reported an escalating mental health crisis involving a 46-year-old guy named Samuel Flanagan. He was armed with a machete, and he was also threatening self-harm at the residence. So when the officers get there, the situation, it just goes downhill really quickly. And involving these things, I mean, it's so typical, right? So it deteriorates. And so Officer Danny James, he's there. He's wearing a body-worn camera. There's multiple people at the residence, but they're on the outside, including two juveniles who are like uncooperative and making his life really difficult. And they're outside and near the home. So he's not getting a lot of cooperation from the juveniles. And this particular one keeps trying to interfere with him, getting in front of the doorway, trying to go in the house. He's trying to pull the kid back because the kid doesn't know what's going on. And the cop's just trying to do his job. So he's being distracted by all these other entities there that are there. During the encounter, Flanagan, our bad guy, emerges from the house within 5 feet of James the cop. While this is going on, we got two cops that are going 10-15 basically. We got the two juveniles. Well, actually, a juvenile and his mother came. It looked like his mother or a adult female that came out of the house. So the cops are wrestling around with these guys in the front yard, and then our bad guy shows up, with the machete in the doorway, and he's got a machete in one hand, he's got a meat cleaver in the other hand. He's making threats and disregarding repeated commands, from the officer. So he advances within 8 feet of two officers wrestling with the family members, and they're on the ground. He places the officers and the family members in immediate danger, according to the article. And our officer ends up firing one shot, and he strikes Flanagan in the chest. And I will say that before he fires a shot, there's the kid, the same kid the officer had been wrestling around with, goes up to approach the father. Cop grabs him by the t-shirt, pulls him backwards, and the kid just, he goes horizontal, lands on the ground. Cop likely saved his life because he could have got hit by the cop's bullet or by the machete that the old man had. A toxicology report revealed that the presence of methamphetamine in our bad guy Flanagan's system, and of course he later died from a single gunshot wound. So it was one of the rarities where the cops had a really, really good shot on this. Commentary on this, guys, we have a little over 2 minutes before we take our first commercial break. But Lieutenant Jeff, I kind of you break down a lot of these uses of force, and it was quite the chaotic scene. And again, another spotlight into the window of what we kind of have to deal with when we're on the scene, and it's not always nice and calm and collected.
Yeah, you appeared to have bad actors on a number of different levels. You had the father who was armed, and that's why the officers were there to begin with. But when dealing with the family members, they obviously had animosity against the police, and they escalated. They escalated the situation, and really, when I was watching it, Chip, what perhaps could have resulted in a better outcome would have been the ability to take these juveniles into custody quicker than they did.
Yeah.
And what would have done that? The glove.
Oh,
think
good
about
point.
it. 2 to 3 seconds. So they're non-compliant. You activate that thing, boom, you have them cuffed, put them in the back seat of the car, and they can do whatever they want back there. You have them contained. It's all about containing and controlling the environment. And once you deal with that, then you can deal with the guy who's armed with the machetes. But, I felt for the officers with the tools that they had. It was very chaotic, and everything escalated, not as a result of what the officers were doing. It was just a consequence of how all the bad actors were conducting themselves.
Yeah, good point. And guys, we are, it's amazing, Chief. Jeff timed it perfectly so that you just don't have any time to talk before the commercial break. So I apologize, but I will give you plenty of airtime after we come back from our third commercial break. So guys, yes, it's commercial break time. We'll be right back. Stick with us. See you in a second. All right, guys, it's time to talk about GunLearn at gunlearn.com. As law enforcement officers, we deal with guns and we deal with ammunition every day. It's what we don't know about them that gets us into trouble. Injuries, civil lawsuits, accidental discharges, misidentifications, lost prosecutions, and disciplinary issues. But gunlearn.com, they have your back. You can quickly become extremely firearm knowledgeable by simply learning 14 training modules from the convenience of your home or your office, or by attending the live seminar at gunlearn.com. You can also become a safe, accurate, and competent certified firearm specialists like our very own Captain Brett Bartlett and also attorney Ken Apianko. Now, the course has had huge success in raising the bar of firearm knowledge, and GunLearn has been a trusted source since way back in 2011 by gun manufacturers, federal agencies, forensic organizations, and even police departments nationwide. Now, the founder, Dan O'Kelly, has got a deal for you if you have your own agency. If you're chief or sheriff, you can host a seminar for absolutely no cost. It's an amazing opportunity. You can go to gunlearn.com to get more information. Again, that is gunlearn.com. All right, guys, and we've got roughly about 2 minutes before we come back to the radio portion of our show. All right, I'll tell you, this is we are moving right along today. So, and that GunLearn, they used to have a little quiz at the beginning, because a lot of guys think, I know guns, and they have a little sample quiz with like 10 questions and it would score you, let you see what you think you know about guns. And oh my gosh, it's brutal. These things, the questions are really good, but of course, if you take the course, you find out the answers to all these questions. I met Dan O'Kelly when I was active at Tampa, and I took a class on firearms and ammunition. I was in the gun unit, and wow, it was amazing, the stuff, how a lot of guys have weapons, they don't know how to clear them, they don't know how they tell whether it's a real firearm or not, because some of these are pretty good replicas. So, but yeah, it's pretty impressive. We had one guy in the class, and he was, whenever we're all instructors, right? And so occasionally there's a guy in the class that wants to compete for attention with the instructor, or even worse, he thinks he knows more than you, and he wants to make a point in front of the class. And so we had this one guy in my class. He was a fellow Tampa cop, and he was convinced that he knew more than the instructor. And so the instructor set him up. He handed us all guns to break down verbally what they were. And he hands this guy a gun, and he has this guy go first. And the guy says, it's this, it's that. And Dan just lets him go on. And then Dan goes, actually, that's not a firearm at all. It's not even a real firearm. And let me tell you why. This is how you can tell. And the guy shut up. And he never said another word for the rest of the class. He was so humiliated, but he didn't know his stuff. And then the instructor was able to teach the rest of the class without being interrupted and interjections and all this other stuff. So it was a beautiful thing. So we're 8 seconds out. I'm going to start the music. Here we go. All right, guys, welcome back to Leo Roundtable at leoroundtable.com. Chief, I promised you before the break I was going to give you plenty of airtime to cover this story. We just covered the story about where a cop shows up. It's a chaotic scene. We got a bad guy in the house with a machete in one hand, a meat cleaver in the other, but he's still in the house. And of course, we got juveniles that are uncooperative with the officer, and then we got an adult female that comes out of the house. And they're just trying to get these kids and the female out and away so they can protect them and focus on the bad guy. And then they end up, fighting with the family members in the driveway and trying to, get them detained and handcuffed. And Jeff brought up a good note about it. The glove would have been a great, from Compliant Technologies, would have been great to have had. They could have got these people handcuffed in a fraction, just in seconds. But instead they have to leave these guys. And when the bad guy comes out the door, and now you've got the civilians that aren't handcuffed because they didn't have enough time, they're interacting again and making it even more dangerous. And they shoot the guy one time in the chest, or bad guy goes down, he ends up dying. But what'd you think about this, Chief? I don't know if you have any flashbacks from watching the video. Hopefully not, but
Well, first of all, don't blame Jeff for cutting me out of the conversation. I can have a conversation with nobody else in the room. That's not a problem. A couple of things. We've seen a lot of these scenarios. Particularly, I really love the departments that put this stuff out and say, this is what happened. This is your timeline. Let's zoom in and those kind of things. So that's great. But I have heard so much good dispatching in some of these calls. So, we need to remember how critical and valuable those comm officers are. Secondly, man, a lot of knife scenarios lately. You notice that? It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
a big killer of police officers statistically, but man, we're just seeing a lot of that, and I'm not.
We got two in a row with meat cleavers of all
Yes,
things.
right, right. And I just wonder. You know, I've been through some like knife disarming technique training, which if you don't do that every day, don't do it. I know how to get somebody separated from a edged weapon, and that's when they fall over from bullet wounds. But you know, one of the cops that had one of the kids down before the shooting takes place, he says, "You're going to get your dad shot," and that's exactly right. Those kids got their dad shot. If those three people had cooperated and then left the bad guy in the house, which if you saw the hallway shots in the video, he'd torn up the drywall in the house. And he could have been isolated in the house. That, you know, could spend another 24 hours letting that guy de-escalate with the potential victims outside. So, man, like father, like sons, he really trained his kids well.
Wow. You know, the truth hurts sometimes. You know, also, you know, I got the impression from at the beginning of the video, the kid realizing that he told the cop that his dad was armed with a machete and stuff, that he had changed his mind about wanting police interaction. And you know, just a little warning to people, not necessarily warning, but just a realization that when you call law enforcement for a mental health issue or something like this, you're going to get a law enforcement response. Don't expect anything different. But you're absolutely right. The family made this arguably unmanageable, and unless they had the glove, but it really created some complications on this. The cop had his hands full. Just watching even just his interactions with that one particular juvenile that he put his hands on at least 4 or 5 times, but didn't have time to handcuff him before the encounter with the dad. Unfortunately, yeah, it's just a sad situation.
I think it's a reminder, and all cops know this, particularly in domestic kind of scenarios. You don't always know who your advocates are, and you'd think that the person that called on the other person would be on your side. And oh, thank God the cops are here. Not necessarily. You could be arresting the bad guy, and one of the witnesses' victims could be on your back. So it's really scary.
Yeah. How often have I grabbed the bad guy and had the wife or the girlfriend on my back with a knife or whatever, trying to stab me because I'm trying to take him into custody, and I'm there to protect her from him, and that's why I came. So it's scary stuff. If you guys, we got 5 minutes. I think we got enough time to cover this next one. I'm certainly hoping so. So if you guys are game for it, let's jump over to the NYPD. And at rumble.com, we're still on our favorite law enforcement video channel called This Is Butter. NYPD officers, they shoot a guy in Brooklyn after 4 children are attacked with a meat cleaver. This is ridiculous. I can't even believe it. So let me go through this quickly because I know we're going to want to talk about this. A man suspected of stabbing 4 children with a meat cleaver, shot and wounded, not killed, by NYPD. And this happened on Sunday in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. So 4 girls between the ages of 8 and 16 ended up being hospitalized with serious stab wounds after officers found them inside of an apartment. They're all expected to survive, thank God. The suspect has been identified as a 49-year-old named Longquin Chen, and he was hospitalized in critical condition. Family members told police that Chen had a history of mental illness. An 11-year-old girl ended up calling 911 just after 10 o'clock in the morning. She said that her uncle was stabbing her and her siblings. Now, NYPD was involved, of course. The girl, she did not know her address, but they used 911 technology in order to track down the location. Officers get at the home. An uninjured child led them inside, this building. And at that point, you can actually hear on the body cam, officers hear screaming coming from behind the door. And it says they immediately forced their way into the apartment. It took a little bit of time to kick in that door, but they finally got it open. And they encountered this guy. He's standing near the entrance. He's holding a large meat cleaver covered in blood, right? So the officers, they order this guy to drop the meat cleaver. He refuses. And then he ends up moving towards them. They've even got, it's kind of hard to pick up because you've got a narrow field of view and it's dark. And the guy is inside the doorway, but coming toward, but you can actually, in the slow motion, you can clearly see this guy making a run for the cops. 2 officers discharge the firearms, fire 7 rounds, and they strike him, and they end the threat. Now, George Jamara, this is just, he's like a neighbor. He's looking out his front window, and he can hear, he decides to take cell phone video of the kids that are all bloodied coming out of the house. So this this is where our society's at. Instead of getting involved or helping the kids out, they're just going to sit back with a cell phone camera and film this thing. But police end up praising the quick actions of the 11-year-old girl and a little boy. You know, she called 911 and she saved the family. Unbelievable. Guys, we got a little over 2.5 minutes. Curious what you guys think about that. This is another meat cleaver story, but thank God we have a happy ending. So, commentary, gentlemen. Chief, you want to start us off on this one?
Yeah. Gosh, knives scare me. Thanks for the white shirt guy. You know, it's great to see an AMED, getting in there and getting in the action.
I think he might pull the trigger first.
Yeah, I think so. I'm just curious, Jeff, in LA, what's the squad level availability of a breaching tool? I don't think they had time. I think they were right in using their Gall's Master Key footwear to get the door broken down. Is there something that's part of SOP with LAPD to get a door open really quickly that's available to, within 3 or 4 cars?
Well, with the LAPD, like when I ran the Rampart gang unit, we had them in our vehicles in the trunk. So you would just have someone go out and get them.
Oh, you did? Wow.
Yeah. Because we'd often, we served a heck of a lot of warrants. So, I mean, we were equipped with all that stuff, and our vehicles were, the benefit that we had was the vehicles were assigned to us. Although we didn't take them home, you would park them and there wasn't anybody else using that vehicle when you were off hours. But what I saw was that it was a little embarrassing for the police officers, but it was an FDNY guy that was kicking the door and actually got it to open, not the police department, which I thought was interesting because LA Fire Department, they're not going to be anywhere near something until it's been neutralized, until you give it code 4 and then they can come in. So that was a little different. And I have a little different take on the guy with the white shirt. He's a supervisor. And that's
should have been supervising.
Yeah, there was a lot of information that was coming, and they weren't sure which location that they were dealing with, and you needed somebody to be triaging that information and giving direction. So I would have liked to have seen that, but the shooting was absolutely a good shooting.
You got to remember that about half of the New York Fire Department is ex-New York cops, and so they probably are more likely to hop in on something like that.
They have a pretty good rivalry going back and forth too. Guys, great commentary, great show. Thank you guys so much for being on. Appreciate it. You hold up some of the what you've got. We've got roughly about 1 minute and 15 seconds. But
yeah, daily inspirational readings. We've got the Badge in the Brain talking about neuroscience and how it affects our reactions and other people's reactions. Very relevant to de-escalation. And 15 ways to calm your mind without driving yourself crazy. It's dealing with anxiety. This is a good spousal book. All of these are good toilet bowl readings. You can just put them in the rack beside there, and it's easy reading. I did want to, so thanks for that opportunity. Did you guys get to see the slow-mo part of that NYPD
well, let me just do this because I got 30 seconds here, and I just want to make sure real quick for the radio portion of the show, which we've got 26 seconds left on. Jeff Wenninger also has his book On Thin Ice. Shout out to Galls.com, CompliantTechnologies.com, Gunlearn.com, and Medicare.life, Safeway Recruiting, and TwoBells.com. And so we will look for you guys back tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern. Another great show. And Chief, the floor is yours. So.
Well, I think you should feel free to announce your GoFundMe for your physical therapy and reconstruction process. So I would donate to that. No, I just thought it was very cinematic where they used a slow, unless it was my slow internet. There was slow-mo of the shooting from the lieutenant or captain in the white shirt. I mean, you saw the muzzle flash, you saw the recoil. It was like Clint Eastwood stuff. It was really cool.
That is nice because I love out of a habit. I like to watch in real time because there's things you're just going to miss, right? I mean, it's amazing if you're the officer, you're going to get a lot more than what anybody else, even on video, is going to pick up on, right? But just watching things, if it's fluid, I like to watch it just to see what I'm able to pick up and stuff, and then watching it again if they offer slow motion or freeze frames with the zoom in where they highlight. That is ideal. The video quality has gotten pretty good. So there's still grainy video out there. We have some, dash cams have been around a lot longer than body cam videos, but there are still some grainy body cam videos out there. And so when that always helps when they're able to like zoom in and highlight, because if it's dark out, you just can't really see, the weapon in the guy's hand or whatever. But it's amazing how many things you miss or absolutely just don't see without a slow motion. I mean, I can watch it 10, 12 times and I just won't, there's some things I just don't see unless they slow that thing down.
Yeah, and I think, I'm sure, Jeff, you use this in your consulting, I presume. I don't think there should ever be a body-worn camera video shown to a jury without a timeline.
Well, timelines are extremely important. So valuable. Yeah, I totally agree.